The James Show Podcast.
I hope you hear this word over and over and over for the rest of your life, remigration, because it's not just the National Guard in D.C. that got hit by an Afghan. There was another Afghan the day before that was arrested plotting to do a terror attack in Fort Worth. So this is not something that's happening in some, disparate foreign, faraway capital. This is happening there and our backyard. It's happening in both. So we have to have a serious conversation about what the heck's going on and what do we do about it. And I think we are all exhausted and past the point of being concerned about being called a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, xenophobe, whatever. Remigration is the process by which you take people who have immigrated here, whether it's legal or illegal, and you turn them back around and you sent them whence they came. And if that sounds mean, why don't you tell that to the family of Sarah Bergstrom? Why don't you tell that to any number of people? How about the guy that got his head sawed off over here in East Dallas? How about the ladies who lost their life in a jet ski accident? What was that, Memorial Day here in our own backyard? I think that was Joe Pool Lake. Not sure. It was a local lake. It was a local story. Think about all of these stories, these terror attacks, these crimes, these drunk driving accidents, these like the rape and murder of Jocelyn Nungery and Lake and Riley and these names that you remember. Think about all of them when we're having this conversation, because I am done with hearing about how another American has been killed, another American's been raped, another American's had their life ruined or been set on fire on the Brooklyn train or set on fire by a blowtorch guy yelling Free Palestine in Boulder, Colorado, or driving through a crowd at a Christmas parade or on Bourbon Street. I'm tired of this. This sounds like one of the biggest no-brainers that we have in the current public debate. And for the Afghan fella that was planning on hitting Fort Worth, we have the Afghan fella that hit the National Guard. What are the odds that this happened on back-to-back days? That's pretty long. Anyway, here's a quick rundown of the Fort Worth terror arrest from Fox News.
Hi, Kevin. Yes, DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin says just one day before the terrorist attack against the National Guard in Washington, D.C., another Afghan national who was paroled into the U.S. under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program was arrested for threatening to blow up a building in Fort Worth. Authorities identified the suspect as Mohammed Dawood Alakoze. DHS says he's accused of posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating he was building a bomb intended for the Fort Worth area. Fox News' Brooke Taylor reports that he was arrested on Tuesday by the Texas Department of Public Safety and FBI in a coordinated law enforcement effort. Alakoze was paroled into the U.S. in September of 2022. He had been admitted as a lawful permanent resident. Also this week, President Trump called for a reform of the country's immigration vetting process following the attack on the National Guard troops on Wednesday, which involved a suspect who was also paroled into the U.S. under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program.
I know your head's already spinning here. You're probably thinking the same thing I am, because I remember when I was here on Wednesday, the day of the National Guard terrorist shooting, before we even knew who the suspect was, you and I were having the conversation. I bet it's not a guy in a MAGA hat. I bet it's not white rural rage. I bet it's not someone who got their gun at the gun show loophole. I bet it's not a white supremacist. I bet it's not a Republican or Team Red constituent of any sort. And without even knowing details, you were proven right. And then we had another one that was happening, hanging right over our heads the whole time. You could have applied the exact same logic. So whenever you see this, normal, rational thinking people say, well, we at least need to maybe pause and review some of these Afghan refugees, if not some of the other refugees from all over the third world. Because one of the ugly truths about it is vetting refugees from the third world is not difficult. It's kind of impossible. They don't really have good database administration in Mogadishu, do they? And Tom Homan was making that case over the weekend on Fox News.
People need to understand, during the 4 years to Biden, I was on Fox News every day saying it's the biggest national security failure in the history of the nation, and we're going to pay the price. Because even though Secretary Mayorkas says everybody's property vetted, they weren't. Even his own DHS Inspector General came out with a report and said there's multiple failures in the vetting process. And here's what people need to understand. In these third world nations, They don't have systems like we do. So a lot of these Afghanistans, when they did get here and get vetted, they had no identification at all. Not a single travel document, not one piece of identification. And we're going to count on the people that run Afghanistan, the Taliban, to provide us any information who the bad guys were or who the good guys are? Certainly not.
Yeah, and imagine that. You realize if you're vetting someone from Afghanistan, you have to contact their government and ask for their records. Who's in charge of Afghanistan? The Taliban. You're asking the Taliban to vet people coming to the United States. They're not exactly our best friend in the geopolitical sense now, are they? So I am just floored that anyone would have any sort of pushback whatsoever on pausing asylum seekers and refugees, of reviewing the Afghan people. But you're going to hear it throughout the show. Have plenty of examples, and we're just going to shoot it all down. But coming up next on the James Show, Darren Gobb. He's a retired U.S. Army veteran, a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, a guy who's actually been over there and seen these societies and these cultures and these situations firsthand. We'll ask him what he thinks about how the amazing coincidence that in 2 days, 2 terror attacks from 2 guys from Afghanistan who came here in the same month, right after the Biden withdrawal in Afghanistan. What an amazing coincidence. But what does he think about the plans to pause and review all the refugees? You're going to find out how important it is coming up next. Also, this is urgent. We are behind schedule on our annual Cumulus Kids toy drive. I don't know. It's maybe we should have started talking about it sooner, but usually at this point we have more donations. I know it's a tight economy out there, but the holidays are a special time for all of us. Let's make sure that these kids still have a Christmas as well. Because a lot of the kids that are getting these toys from the toy drive that we're going to National Elementary and Martin Luther King here in Dallas, they don't really have parents. Some of them live in shelters and orphanages. Some of them are staying with distant relatives, or some of them are staying with friends of the family. And so if you've ever wondered how you can make an impact but just don't have time in the logistics, so, you have a busy working schedule, we really just need donations at this point. Go to WBAP.com, and in the front headliner, there's a graphic that you can click on to make a donation online. So whenever you get a chance, heck, do it right now. It just takes a couple minutes. Go to WBAP.com and donate to the Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. And then also, we're doing a remote tomorrow. I'm going to be out and about in the city, this time at Kroger in Midlothian. And if you are available and not at work and want to come by and say hi, I'm going to be down there doing my show live from 2 to 5, trying to get people to donate toys and all that good stuff. So feel free to come out and say hi. The James Show live at Kroger in Midlothian tomorrow. It's on 663, if you're wondering. And some of us are having the real conversation that needs to be had. Some of us see the fact that there was an Afghan asylum seeker who shot 2 of our National Guard soldiers the day before Thanksgiving, killing one of them. Another Afghan was arrested the day before for a terror attack that he was plotting for Fort Worth. And a rational person would say, well, clearly something's going wrong with this Afghan refugee process, especially from the years 2021 to 2021, right? It's just this narrow group of people. If we had on consecutive days terror attacks from people saying roll tide, we'd have a look into the Alabama fan base, wouldn't we? So it's just insane that anybody would push back on this. Donald Trump is saying we're going to review all of them. We're going to send back a whole bunch of them. And they're getting questioned in the media what do you mean you're gonna send terrorists back to their home country? Why would you do such a thing? It's crazy. And there's still a big group out of them that don't even admit that there's a pattern going on. They're like, whoa, we sure do have to do something about guns. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Jasmine Crockett, who you will hear in the next segment, says, despite this exception here, whites and white supremacists are still the real terror threat in America. It's oh, goodness. I don't know if we're going to make progress on this or not. My next guest, coming back to the show, Darren Gobb. He's a retired military veteran who flew a Black Hawk helicopter overseas and got to see some of these societies and these cultures firsthand. And for the people who, they're open-hearted and they're trying to be open and accepting of all cultures and all people. But I don't think they really understand the gravity of the difference in the cultures of the people that we're importing. Darren, you saw it firsthand. Tell us about it.
Hey, thanks, James, for having me on. No, it's imagine going onto a different planet almost. That's what it's like to go to Afghanistan and see how these people live and what they do. Now, are every single one of them dangerous, terrorist-minded people that want to overthrow the United States and do dangerous stuff? No, not necessarily. But how many does it take? Well, as far as I'm concerned, only one, and that's enough for us to take a look and review everything. So a couple key items that are worth noting. One, to say you vetted an Afghan person who rushed onto an airplane before coming to the United States through a few hurdles is just a straight up lie, because most of the people in Afghanistan, you're going to find them not in any kind of database. They don't even track that kind of stuff. They're not a modernized society to the point where that is known for the majority of the people who are there. It is a crazy society. Now, you talk about cultural differences, of course. Not only is it an Islamic nation with the things that people are used to there, but most of the men there engage in forms of marriage of two young children, and they also have young boys basically as sex slaves and toys when they're men. That's just normal stuff. Women are considered possessions, much like cattle and sheep and everything else, and to be used by men however they see fit. You can't mix an American Christian constitutional society with what you see in Afghanistan. It just doesn't work. And there's no way you can send them all here and expect them to assimilate into our society either. They have no desire to do that.
So how did they get here in the first place? Because, the reports are 85,000 Afghans were brought here after the Biden withdrawal in the couple of months from there. And I guess this was the people that were hanging onto the wheels of that plane that was flying off from the video we all remember. That seems like a lot. 85,000?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me a bit. We were talking to the pilots of the C-17s as they were on the ramp in Kabul, and they were flooding the aircraft. There was no control. It was just mass chaos and a mob scene. They were loading up the airplanes with a ton of people and just flying them out and just, trying to make it the best they could, I guess. And that's not the only means by which they came here, of course, but, there's overland routes and other things. 85,000 is not a number I would balk at and say that seems unusual. That's and frankly, if you want to see what it could look like in the United States with these people coming here ostensibly to seek asylum, which of course they are not, take a look at a much more advanced process in Europe and how many stabbings and crimes and robberies and things that are happening over there. I've been watching that for years. And that's where we're going if we don't fix this now. And every single person who came from Afghanistan needs to get looked at in depth. And if you can't confirm anything at all about them, you default to sending them home.
Well, we're talking with Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, retired. He was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, combat veteran, and sharing a little insight on what he saw and the difference in cultures that kind of explains, why the Afghan refugees or asylum seekers, may not be the most easily assimilated into American culture in 2025. But the reason that 85,000 number sounds so large to me is because it's sold to us as, well, what about the Afghans that were acting as interpreters and helping out, our special forces troops or our Navy SEALs or our military guys? If we don't give them asylum and we turn them back out into the Afghanistan general populace, they're going to get killed for helping us in the first place. And it would be, betraying the people who helped us in our time of need. What's your response to that?
Well, first of all, those people absolutely should be here. They've earned the right to be here by working with us on a number of different things. And frequently and most often, they are good people that have already been vetted through various means. So when you review the 85,000 or so people who are here from Afghanistan, the very micro number of people who did that kind of work with the U.S. forces are going to be those who are here. And they're going to be able to stay here safely because we already know all about them. It's the 84,000 or so, I would say, who we don't know really truly much about that need to be sent back home, most likely. I'm not saying it in every single case, but I think you're going to find the vast majority of them shouldn't be here because we don't even know who they were when they got on the plane to get here in the first place.
Man, that sounds so sloppy for someone to not be able to vet the people from a culture as antithetical to America as this and just release it on us. It's almost like they wanted us to suffer.
I think that's the only conclusion you can make is that, they're not, these people aren't dumb. And even under the Biden administration, you would think they were, but most of them are just people who are comfortable with doing things that are evil and allowing other people to do things that are evil too. And they knew exactly what was going to happen, just like those of us who do this every day knew exactly what was going to happen when you threw a bunch of people from a society like Afghanistan into American society. There was no doubt about the result. The only thing I'm surprised by is that it has taken this long. Yeah, and if we don't stop it now, it'll continue.
I'm often shook by the stories I hear about from people like yourself who went over there and experienced that firsthand, because it just doesn't sound right. Really, they're just into raping people. Really, they just treat women as cattle. Really, they just have boy toys. And I don't think my brain can really process it. I just have to take your word for it, Darren.
Yeah, that's all I can promise you, because if I were to describe the things that you see in person over there on radio, I think you'd get kicked off.
Probably would. All right. Well, you're a great guest. Maybe you should check out his book, Veritas Vincent. Go to DarrenGaub.com, and he spells it all, DARINGAUB.com. Thanks again, Darren.
Hey, thanks, Ed.
Hey, we got ourselves an issue with Afghans here, not the blankets. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And so the National Guard shooting that happened the day before Thanksgiving, leaving one of our National Guard soldiers dead. That was an Afghan who came over after the Biden withdrawal in Afghanistan in 2021. And as part of that same wave of refugees / asylum seekers, I don't know the technical difference, but it doesn't matter at this point. There's another dude that was planning on blowing up something in Fort Worth. He got arrested the day before that. And any rational person would say, listen, if I had a nickel for every time an Afghan was at least attempting a terror attack last week, I'd only have 2 nickels, but that's kind of a lot. That's too many. One, it's all right. There's a lone wolf or some freak that could happen from any population. But 2 on consecutive days, some people would notice what they call a pattern. If you don't know what a pattern is, Miss Rachel can explain it to you. It's when something happens over and over, and then you start to recognize something that happens over and over. It's a pattern.
Repeats in a regular way, and you notice it, you can surely say it's a pattern. It's a pattern.
Tell him, Rachel.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. Whoa, whoa.
It's also a pattern that it's not someone in a MAGA hat. It's not white rural rage like MSNBC told you to expect. It's not someone who got their gun at the gun show loophole or someone who is concealed carrying. It wasn't someone in the Klan. But some people aren't getting that. They're not recognizing the pattern. Jasmine Crockett says, hey, listen, I know that this guy happened to be an Afghan, but remember the real threat. It's me and Garrett over here. It's the crazy white guys.
And the idea that one person can get out of line and commit such a horrific crime as shooting 2 of our National Guardsmen, 2 National Guardsmen that never, ever asked to be here. In fact, we know the young lady that lost her life, specifically, we're saying that this is a waste of time. But now you want to go against every single immigrant. That doesn't make sense. And it's frankly not who we are, because if that's the case, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you I can track down more crimes that they've committed, because overall immigrants have a lower crime committal rate than white supremacists. But we don't want to talk about that in this country.
I mean, the FBI has for years said that homegrown terrorism is a much bigger issue than anything from any other country.
Yes, they've predicted it. They've said it, but you don't have the numbers. You don't have the stats. Oh, I can point out more crimes from white supremacists. No, you can't. Absolutely not. Please, give me the list. I would love to see here's a report from someone. No. You tell me, don't tell me there's a report or someone else believes the same lie that you believe. Give me the list, because I have a pretty big list here, and some of it is from immigrants that were supposed to be here, some of it from immigrants that weren't supposed to be here. Some of it's from Antifa people. Some of it's from trans people. Some of it's from Free Palestine people. Some of it's from, it doesn't matter. They're all different branches on the team blue tree. Yeah. We got just as much violence from white supremacists. Was it a white supremacist that shot Charlie Kirk, or was that Team Blue? What about the shooting ambush at the ICE facility in Dallas? Was that white supremacists as well? Was that right-wingers going crazy? What about the ICE facility in Alvarado? What about the ICE facility in McAllen? Was that Trumpers? Was that right-wingers? Was that white supremacists? What about in Boulder, Colorado, the pro-Palestinian guy that was blowtorching old people? Or the pro-Palestinian murder of 2 Jews in D.C. a couple months ago? I guess like 3 months ago. We had the Free Palestine guy running over people on Bourbon Street. We had all the Tesla dealership fire bombings and car vandalism, 2 Trump assassination attempts, Luigi Mangione murdering the United Health CEO. He's in court today. What about the anti-Christian mass murder in Nashville or Minneapolis, or the attempted anti-Christian mass murder at Joel Osteen's church? They're all Team Blue. There's exceptions. There was the Minnesota state rep that was assassinated by one guy earlier this year, like back in June. There's one. If you go back in time, I can think of another one, the Dylan Roof. He really was a white supremacist. He's not a right-winger. He wasn't a Republican, but I'll grant you that. The guy that shot up that black church in South Carolina like a decade ago. I'm not saying it never happens, but the ratio isn't even close. And when we have a nation of 330 million Americans, every once in a while you're going to get some crazy person that does some crazy thing. But we only have a handful of Afghani asylum seekers in America, and they have a worse record just based on last week. Kevin, North Richland Hills, you're on WBAP.
Hey, you're getting me cranked up here. Number one, I've got 2 points. Number one, this Crockett girl, she's an idiot. Number two, the guy that you had on was spot on with Afghanistan. I used to work in the top security clearance area in Texas here, working on airplanes. And this guy that was my roommate, he told me stories like this guy was telling you. And I said, you've got to be out of your mind. He said, no. He said, I don't want to get into what he got into. It's all true. It's all true.
Oh, I know. I have veteran friends, and they tell me just absolute horror stories. That I wouldn't even watch a movie if that was in it. It's so bad. And I guess some people don't believe it because there's some people out there who think it's just a crime to admit that maybe our culture is better than some other cultures. Oh, my God, what a bigot. No. How about the culture that doesn't incentivize rape against women or children? It's safe to call that better without being a bigot.
And just not just that, but, women are lower than dogs, and they've got boy toys. And he told me that. I said, you've got to be kidding me. And he said, no.
Yeah.
And I can say his name. His name is Dave.
Hey, Dave.
He's passed away. Yeah.
All
but,
right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I've heard those scary stories too, and it just doesn't sound real. And now we've imported tens of thousands of these people into our country, and, things are going wrong. Who would have guessed? We did. 800-288-9227. Cumulus Kids is happening here. We do this every Christmas for the holidays. We get donations. We have a toy giveaway for 2 schools, one in Dallas, one in downtown Fort Worth. And we make sure all the kids have a good Christmas. Now, a lot of these kids don't have parents. A lot of them are in homes. A lot of them are in orphanages. We call them group homes now. A lot of them are in foster care. And so no child deserves to be forgotten during this holiday season. And because of people like you, they haven't been in years past. So let's make sure that continues this year. There's a couple ways for you to donate. You can drop off a toy at a Sampac auto dealership. You can go to WBAP.com, or you can text the word kids to 800-288-9227. Make a monetary donation, and that'll have a big impact, and we'll make sure all these kids have a good Christmas. So text kids to 800-288-9227. Or if you go to WBAP.com, it's in the little headline rotator. And let's make it official here for today's episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time?
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
Today's What Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? Brought to you by Afghans. The blankets this time, not the people, the actual blankets. Go out and get you a nice Afghan. It's wintertime. Cozy up on the couch. Binge watch a bunch of stuff on Netflix. Eat some junk food and get even fatter. Afghans. Find them online or, I don't know, your grandma. Before we get into Jasmine Crockett addressing some of the issues of the day. The terror attack last week, the deportations, the halting of asylums and whatever. She made the claim that Trump is making poor little immigrant children drink their own urine. You think, I know, the guy on radio is just saying sensational things trying to get ratings. I'm going to play it for you. But she's saying they're intentionally withholding water so these kids have to drink their own urine. And Trump wants it to happen. That's the whole point.
Ultimately, there were issues with literally, like, I won't get so graphic, but involving urine and some other things.
Feel free to get graphic.
Well, I mean, there were allegations that because they were actually depriving them of water, that they literally were having to drink their own urine. This can't be America. But obviously, in Trump's America, this is exactly what he wants.
Dude, no wonder people are shooting at him. No wonder people are shooting at us. No wonder they shoot at our ICE facilities. Do ambushes, have sniper attacks. No wonder they're blocking their streets in New York City from ICE raids, and they're throwing bricks at their cars in Los Angeles, and Chicago's having their own little anti-ICE tantrums. How evil do they think this guy is? Yeah, Trump, he's just up there, some evil mastermind. Here's what we'll do. We'll get some immigrant kids and we'll lock them in cages, and then we'll deprive them of water until they have to drink their own urine. Shut up. Nobody, I don't want to say nobody's that evil, but few people are genuinely that. Do they really think Trump's capable of that? I don't think Jasmine does, but I think she knows, saying that there's idiots out there that will believe her. And they will never, ever vote for the Republican Party because they think you're so damn evil. Now, back to the other clip, her responding to the idea that maybe there could be a terrorism issue when 2 Afghans on 2 consecutive days are arrested for 2 terror plots. For her, whites are still the real terror threat.
And the idea that one person can get out of line and commit such a horrific crime as shooting 2 of our National Guardsmen, 2 National Guardsmen that never, ever asked to be here. In fact, we know the young lady that lost her life, specifically, we're saying that this is a waste of time. But now you want to go against every single immigrant. That doesn't make sense. And it's frankly not who we are, because if that's the case, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you I can track down more crimes that they've committed, because overall immigrants have a lower crime committal rate than white supremacists. But we don't want to talk about that in this country.
I mean, the FBI has for years said that homegrown terrorism is a much bigger issue than anything from any other country.
That is such a ballsy thing to say when the body's not even cold on the Afghan terror attack from last week. One more clip from Jasmine here. She wants to deport Melania.
One of the things that we keep hearing the president say is that he is going to denaturalize people. There should be people denaturalized, people who don't adhere to Western civilization values, whatever that means. I'm curious what you think about that, because one, it's not something he can do, right? He can't go around waving a wand and denaturalize people. There's a process. Not supposed to.
Okay.
There's a legal process to that.
Yeah.
But what do you think is actually behind that? Because he probably knows that he can't do it, but what do you think he's trying to signal?
I think he is trying to do what he's always done, which is instill fear. He wants people to go into the shadows. He wants people to hide out the way that they're doing right now. People are not sending their kids to school. They're not showing up to work. He is wanting people to be terrified, and he only wants his kind of people on the streets. He wants everyone else to kind of languish in the shadows.
All right, let's go to the phones here. I know it's going to be ridiculous. That's why I played it for you. This is Leighton and Cisco. You're on WBAP.
Afternoon, James. I got 2 different thoughts here for you. One, personal experience while I was active duty and then working with the Department of Defense afterwards, 08, 09. The cream of the top of the Afghani and Iraqi armies were coming over to military bases, and we were training them.
Okay.
When they came over, we were under direct orders. You do not go by yourself. You do not go in any group less than 3 in any area that they are at. It does not matter whether you're a good-looking guy, a gorgeous woman, or anything in between. You do not go in anything less than 3 per group, period, because they already had, and this was the cream of the cream, or the cream of the top, they already had all types of sexual assaults.
Hang on a second, Leighton. I'm gonna want to talk to you for a while, and I'm kind of running out of time. Hold through the break here, because it's, I'm hearing more and more of these stories. We heard it from my guest earlier and from another caller here. They have a weird thing with rape, and we're going to dig into that next on the James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.